My mom had me when she was 16. From a young age, I got to see my mom sacrifice everything for me. She never made me feel like she was a single mom and we were struggling.
Do you think you ever had any childhood trauma, or did you guys just as a family just overcome it so early that you just don't feel like it was trauma?
I don't know, it's really inspiring that whatever she's gone through, she just has this incredible faith that it's always for her own good.
And I spent a lot of my childhood lying about my parents not being together. I used to pretend my dad was with us.
And I was just really surprised, and I looked at my mom, and I promise you, I think I was 16 at that time. I kissed my mom's hand and I said, "Thank you so much for bringing me up differently."
Welcome back to the Inner Child podcast, episode 6. We have Maha here. For those that don't know who you are, could you tell me who you are and what you do?
Do we even know who we are and what we do? I don't day and age.
I think we know what we do. Yeah. I don't know if we know who we are.
I still don't know what I do.
Really?
I do a lot of things. So I'm Maha. I'm originally from Iraq. I grew up in Sweden, in the UK. And this is who I am, I guess. And what I do is a lot of different things. I don't like to limit myself. I think sometimes that makes people angry because they're like, "You have a PhD, so you're supposed to be doing only that." And I'm like, no, because we're not, we are flexible people with lots of different talents. And I think just because society wants us to stick to one thing doesn't mean that we should. So I have my TV show where I travel with my mom, explore different countries and cultures, and it was a very nice thing. And I feel like I kind of manifested that because I was like, after I finished my PhD, I want to just travel around. So it just came to me, and it came to me as a work opportunity and with my favorite person, which is my mom.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it was a meant to be. And then I have a lot of different things, new projects coming up. Some related to my field, which is my field. I finished my PhD in 3D printing for maxillofacial reconstruction. So, yeah, that's a mouthful. Basically, it's 3D printing patient-specific implants that can be used in the maxillofacial area, which is the face, and just kind of looking at, so my research looked at the biocompatibility of that and the introducing antibacterial, antimicrobial material as well to make it. So yeah, it's quite complicated, but I won't go into it because we don't have a year. So yeah, no, I do a lot of different things, and I have another company that's more cosmetic related, and that hasn't been announced yet. So nice. Also, inshallah, you'll see.
Inshallah. I guess the conversation we're gonna have will mainly focus around your relationship with your mom, the TV show, your upbringing a little bit, because I know you traveled quite a bit when you was young.
Yes.
Studying in the UK, right?
Yes.
So that's where the conversation will kind of go. Yeah. But it's nice to hear, a lot of people kind of will say to us stick to one thing and do it well.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this quite recently as well. And it's we go to school, and in school we're learning 5 subjects at a time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? No one said, learn one subject and go ahead with it. So in school we was learning maths, science, English, technology, whatever it is, all at once. And we was expected to get the best grade in every single subject.
Yeah.
So I always wondered, why can't we apply that to our adult life,
Yeah, I think with reason, because what happens is sometimes we're so scared to explore things fully that we just explore things. We just touch base on some things, and then we're like, oh, we're not good enough in that. Let me try something else. We were just getting good at it. So it's you know what I mean? So it's just sometimes we do need to give things. We need to focus. Focus is very, very important. So focus, dedication, having a routine is very, very important. But there's nothing wrong with kind of exploring different fields and seeing how those different things that you like can tie in, and you can do all of them in kind of one thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I definitely agree. I think there's just a limit, an element of we spend so much of our childhood studying so many things at the same time that can we not do it in our adult life? And then I guess it also does come down to discipline and stuff, because you're not just you're like studying an hour of this and then an hour of this and like trying to get, you know, better and better. And I guess in life you kind of got to do the same, like focus.
Yeah, to know what you're good at, and that was the same in school. So the reason why you studied so many different things is to understand, okay, what am I actually good at? What am I not? And no one, I think that like family pressure from, I think, an Asian background, you have to be good at everything.
Yeah.
And then you're
especially
just
science.
like, exactly. And then if you're not, or if you're good at arts and stuff, then you're not smart. It's like being labeled as that, because society expects only, like, you're smart if you're good at science or maths, but you're not smart if you're good at art. And I'm like, you're talented if you're good at art, like, because not everyone has it in them.
Yeah, true. I think slowly it's changing a little bit. Like I wouldn't know. Like I'm pretty sure the pressure that you might have had growing up, your siblings might not have the same pressure, in terms of, I think the world's kind of understanding where like you can be successful in different avenues now. It doesn't have to be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, and things like that. Or do you think it's still the same?
I think it's your background, because as we were discussing this earlier, culture still plays a huge role. So culturally, it's like the parents, I think from our background, is a child's education, the way a child behaves, who they marry, etc., is a direct reflection of the parents. I think that's what our society, it's like, oh, you know, if your child is a doctor, it means like you've raised him well.
Okay.
Or, you know, if they marry somebody that's like a good person or like from a good status, then you did well raising that child. And that still applies, I think. Not as much, maybe, I don't know, things have changed, but that still applies. Like, you still want to see your child the best, probably better than yourself.
I see. I mean, from my experience, I feel like it has changed a little bit. Like when I was growing up, my mum just wanted me to be a doctor, pharmacy, like that. So I went through university, I graduated in science. And then after I graduated, I didn't go into that field. And I think for my mum, she just realized like, it's just not going to happen because we want it to happen. They just have to find their own path.
Exactly.
So the rest of my siblings now, mom's just kind of just laying back now. Like, she gave us the pressure.
Yeah.
But for my younger siblings, it's just like, I just want you to do good in whatever field you're in.
But I think that's a parent's thing. They'll always push the first couple of children the hardest.
Yeah, true.
Because they're like, you know, it's a new thing, and we want them. And then afterwards, when they do kind of well and they've gone to university, they're like, okay, pressure's down. Like, those kids can just do whatever they want. I'm tired now anyway.
That might be it.
Yeah.
Also, like, another interesting thing as well is like, where you were saying like how, you know, if they become a doctor, it means I raise a good kid and etc. Like, I think I'm noticing like the fact that I moved to Dubai from London. Yeah. Already there's like this image, like if you move to Dubai, you're like some millionaire for some reason when you're from the UK, right? It's like they just think Dubai is this golden brick road, right? Yeah. In reality, it's the same as London. You know, everyone's still got to eat, everyone's still got to make their own ways. But like when I moved to Dubai, there was just a little bit more of like a respect thing, like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, my son's in Dubai, and it's not even like my son's in Dubai, but like even from like extended family, they would be like, oh, like you're in Dubai now, like you must be doing really well and da da da.
Exotic.
Yeah, literally. So I guess there's many factors that play into it. I want to jump back straight in. Yeah. I want to ask, what was your childhood like and your upbringing like?
So my mum had me when she was 16, and like, I was born in Iraq. It was quite difficult, like, for my mom, like, being so young, and she got married very, very young. And then we left, we moved to Lebanon, and my mom kind of, from the age, I think I was like 2 years old, then my mom had to really kind of be on her own, because before that I was like with my grandma. And from a young age, I like got to see my mom sacrifice everything for me. Like, she just put me before anything, and being that young as well, it's
how far can you remember? What's the first memory you remember of you and your mom? I
actually remember I remember when I was in Lebanon, and like, she would she put in a lot of effort for me to have an education. She always put education. She's like, learn French, go do ballet,
Really?
do this. Like she'll put me in literally 100 after school activities, like swimming and whatever. Like she just wanted me to have everything and do well in everything. So she never made me feel like she was a single mom and like we were struggling or whatever. Like she just was like, oh, you want to do ballet? Do that. Oh, you want to go here? Like do that. And I would always have really beautiful clothes. I remember like when we had school activities, like I would have like beautiful dresses, and she just never made me feel like she was alone and she struggled, but I could see the hard work that she put in.
How like when, because I'm assuming, right, as children, like I'm just thinking of myself, right, like as a child, I didn't see the hard work because I didn't understand what hard work was, right? We're just kids, we just want toys and stuff. But at what age do you start to realize like your mum might have been through some stuff, or she's really trying so hard to make sure that you're okay, you are getting everything that you need as a child? Like at what age did you start noticing those things?
I think I always noticed it, like, because the thing is when we arrived to Lebanon.
How old was you when you went to Lebanon?
About 3.
Okay.
2 to 3, something like 3, something like this. Yeah. So when we arrived to Lebanon, we applied for the UN. And so, of course, like I was sat there listening to all the struggles and like this. So I always knew that like it wasn't easy and my mom had to do it all by herself. And so I don't know, like I don't know if like I'm that type of person that would always... I'm quite emotional, so I sense when, even though my mom was always happy, but I could sense that like, okay, she's working really hard. And when I was sent to boarding school when I was 11 years old, it was like it was really difficult for my mom. Like every time she would drop me off at boarding school, she would cry so much, and I wouldn't be crying. I'd be like, "Mom, stop! It's gonna be fine. I'll see you. I'll see you in 3 months." Like imagine, like, and she's like crying, and I'm like, "It's fine, Mom." Like I know how difficult it is, but at the same time, the world isn't easy, and she couldn't sit with that there with me, so she had to work, and she had to put me in a boarding school where I was being looked after, and like my needs were met.
Talk me through your timeline. So like at what age did you move to Lebanon? From Lebanon, where did you go? And like all the way up until like you're 18. So like tell me about, like explain your timeline a little bit.
Yeah, so I was in Lebanon for a couple of years. Then we went to Sweden, lived in Sweden for about 5 or 6 years. Then I went to the UK, went to boarding school. And then I lived in the UK ever since. So like I finished my school, university, everything in the UK.
And then you moved here?
Here I come and go. So like I don't feel like it's fully my home, but like it's when it's cold in the UK, I'll just come here.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So what made your mom go to Sweden?
The UN. So the United Nations, they kind of took us and took us to Sweden. Yeah.
How was it when you got to Sweden? Was that like a culture shock or?
So it was crazy because I loved school in Lebanon, and I remember like it was my birthday when we had arrived, when we just like maybe 4 weeks or something after we arrived in Sweden, it was going to be my birthday. So I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I really want to have a birthday before we move, and I want to have it with my friends in school. And I remember really well, like my mom bought me this huge guitar cake, and like I had a big birthday when before leaving Lebanon. So when we arrived to Sweden, I met an Iraqi girl. She was in my neighborhood, and she was like, I think 2 years older or something like that.
How old was you at this point when you was in Sweden?
I think I was maybe 5 or 6, something like this. So I told her, it's going to be my birthday soon. So she's like, we should invite everyone in the neighborhood. And what we did was like we wrote letters. Well, I didn't write them, so my friend did. She wrote letters to everyone in our neighborhood. Like all the flats got letters saying it's my birthday and we're having a birthday party in the garden of our building. So there's like lots of different buildings. We gave a letter to everyone.
Did your mom know you did this?
No. So, and so we invited everyone. And I told my mom, like, maybe a day before my birthday, I was like, oh, Mom, by the way, I invited everyone to my birthday. She was like, what? Wait. I thought you already had your birthday. And I was like, no, my birthday is tomorrow. And I invited everyone in the neighborhood. So my mom was like, okay, like not believing that anyone would come.
Okay,
why would anyone come to this like child handwritten letter to come to a random girl's birthday party? And I kid you not, about 70% of our neighborhood showed up with presents, and my mum bought a small cake, and she saw everyone there like bringing crisps and we got to know everyone. And I couldn't even speak Swedish by then. So it was just like we had just arrived and I invited the whole neighborhood.
Oh, wow. Can you speak Swedish now?
So. Like I've forgotten a lot of it, but.
So, okay. But that's interesting. Like the fact that, I think that's a nice story. Like, because I can only I remember I moved around quite a bit when I was younger as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that kind of experience. I was just very because I moved around so much, I feel like I lost my confidence because I would move around quite frequently. So every time I made a friend, it's ready to go. And it became this thing where that I'm not sure if I can make friends anymore because they're going to go and I started losing my confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
But in your situation, it's really nice the fact that you got there and you just became part of a community.
Yeah.
So after your birthday, how was the relationship with your community? Did your mom integrate with the community or?
I think so. My mum had to travel a lot, so this is the thing. Like I spent a lot of time with my grandpa because my mum was traveling a lot for work.
So did your granddad travel with you guys?
No, so he came with us to Sweden.
Okay.
Yes, so I stayed a lot with my grandpa, but the relationship. I had a good relationship with my neighbors because at that time there weren't that many people that had come from abroad, and they would the UN only chose one family a year.
Really?
So it wasn't there weren't that many foreigners, and lots of kids were blonde, and I had brown hair, and they'd all come up to me and touch my hair she looks different, and I don't know, it felt I don't know, I just love talking, clearly. And I just made friends really quickly. And I still kind of am the same person because I had to. Otherwise, it gets really lonely.
Yeah.
So I just, even when I couldn't speak, I tried to speak with everyone.
Okay, so you spent some time in Sweden, then you moved to the UK.
Yes.
What was the experience like when you moved to the UK?
Also very interesting. So I moved to the UK and I couldn't speak any English. So my mum loves throwing me in these situations. But yes, I went to boarding school, couldn't speak any.
Oh, you went to boarding school straight away?
Yeah, straight away.
Okay.
And I couldn't speak any English. So I could say hi, my name is Maha, but that was it. Literally, that was it. And so people would use sign language to tell me now we're going downstairs to eat. And I'm like, okay. No clue what half the time they were saying. I would sit in class and in Sweden, they're very kind of free. You can write with a pink pen and it's fine. And my pens all smelt really nice.
Okay.
And in boarding school, it was a really strict boarding school. So you could only write with black or blue. In schools in the UK, they're very, very strict. Yeah. So I didn't even know. So I'm barely I couldn't even speak English. So I'm writing down what's written on the board with my pink pen, and I was very happy because it smelled nice. And then all of a sudden the teacher looks at me, she starts yelling at me, and I'm there huh? I was I thought maybe she's telling me, you're doing a good job for someone who can't speak English. So I'm thank you. And I don't know, she was insulting me and I was saying thank you to her. Wow. So she's thinking, this girl is so rude.
Yeah.
She started yelling at me and told me to go out. So one of my friends, she gets up, takes me, pulls my hand and takes me out, takes me to my, the head of our house, explains to her something, because my teacher got so angry at me at some point. I was sitting there no idea why she's angry at me. She rips my page, my homework, or the work that I was writing, she literally rips it. And I'm I have no idea what's going on. I'm just in my head yeah. and then she takes me, and then my teacher comes in, explains something, and then she comes and says, I'm really sorry. So I wasn't allowed to write with a pink pen.
Oh, that was the issue.
And she didn't know that she thought I was being plain rude. Like I just like was
so
not
she didn't know you
listening.
don't know English.
She didn't know that. She didn't know anything. Nobody filled her in. And she thought I was like just rude. And then like they had to tell her, okay, well, she doesn't actually know how to speak English. She is doing the best that she can. And it's like, blue, yes. Pink, no. I was like, oh, okay.
So where did you learn English? In school?
In boarding school. Yeah. So I just picked it up because everyone was speaking English around me. So it was like, I just had to. And
what
I
was
told
your
them,
first language?
Arabic.
And then a little bit of Swedish.
I spoke fully Swedish. When I was in Sweden, I spoke fluently. But before Swedish, it was French because I was living in Lebanon.
Oh, okay, fine. So my question is, what language are you thinking?
Lots of people ask me that. So now we're speaking in English, I will think in English.
Okay.
And like if I'm speaking with someone in Arabic, then I'll think in Arabic. But those are the main two languages I think.
So in that situation when that teacher was like, telling you off and stuff, what language were you?
Swedish. I was like in my head, I'm like, what is she doing? I'm like, yeah.
Okay. So, all right, fine. So now you're in boarding school.
Yeah.
How did your mom take that?
She was really emotional.
Really?
Very emotional because
your mom travels, right? So she's already coming in and out.
Yeah.
So then you're going to boarding school. Did she just feel like, did she feel the same as she would when she leaves you with your granddad to travel, or did she?
Yeah, I think so. But then it's even worse because it's like, well, when she's done with her work, she would always come back, and now she can't. Like, I would have to be away for the semester.
Okay.
And I'm away in a country where my grandpa wasn't even there. Like, nobody was there. I was alone.
Oh, so you went to the UK alone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was living by myself in a country where I couldn't speak the language. I had to now take on full responsibility of my things. I had to do my own laundry. I had to do everything by myself, and this 11-year-old kid who can't even speak English. So it was, I think for her, she took it really emotionally because I feel like she kind of felt some sort of guilt.
Got you.
Like she was, and it's not easy for a parent to kind of put that kind of responsibility on their children at such a young age. But I loved it. I was like, yay, I get to have 100 sisters.
Seeing how you turned out now.
Yeah.
Was your mum happy with the decision she made?
Yes. So I don't think she would have made this decision had she not known that this was going to be the outcome for me and that it's going to be the best thing for me.
Okay. I mean, look, I feel like we're speaking about your mum quite a bit. So I think it's only right we explain who your mum is.
Yeah.
And I want to understand who your mum is a bit more. So because a lot of the stuff I'm seeing is all in Arabic.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling to and they don't have the English subtitles and stuff. So I'm struggling to understand. But it seems like your mum's a huge star.
So she's multi-talented. So my mum started, the being in the social media. Malayeen. Her actual name is Sana, but it's the fame name. She started very, very young. She started with adverts on TV, and then she did theater shows, and so she's done a lot, and she was in this spotlight a lot. So I grew up literally just seeing all sorts of Arab stars and whatever, and I just never knew this is a big deal. I'm now hanging out with Nancy Ajram, who sings Tab Tab.
Oh, really?
I'm not gonna sing here, but I hung out with so many stars, and I just didn't know who these people were. I'm just oh, just normal people, but it's all these people that I was surrounded with, and I kind of grew up. And I never understood. I'm why are people obsessed with stars so much? I just don't. I still till this day, I'm why? They're just normal people.
So your mom. So what is it? So your mom's a TV actress.
Yeah.
She's a reality TV show star.
So so she did theater shows. Sing-ish in the theater shows, and dancing, and just a lot of things on adverts on TV. What's
her biggest project? What's her biggest TV show or movie has she done?
It depends. A lot of people would come tell her oh, I love this show, and then other people tell her, oh, this Film Hindi is my favorite, where she traveled to India, and then other people was Dawlat al-Rais is my favorite because it had a political impact. So it's just like, I think it's like a preference type of thing. And that now a lot of people are like, oh, I love the new reality TV show where you guys travel, because they get to see her for who she is, and they get to know me as a personality as well.
Is this your first thing that you've done on TV with your mom?
No.
Oh, you've done stuff with your mom before?
Yeah, I've done a TV show, but like I was kind of forced into it. Just like this one. No, I'm kidding.
Like this, what do you mean?
No. So the first one, like the girl who was supposed to be playing my part, she didn't get the visa. So it was like, we didn't have time. So they're like, you have to do it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh no, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to. I just did it. And like, I literally couldn't care less for the TV show. Like I don't know who watches it.
How old was he?
I don't know. I think I was...
Was he your teens?
No. I was old, like in my 20s. Like it was like a faint memory in my, like, I just don't remember. I don't want to remember this. But yeah, no, a lot of people like came up to me and were like, oh, I love that part. I love the way you... And I was like, really?
I need to find this. I'm going to find your credits
no, we're not
on
doing that.
IMDb.
I think I'm not doing that.
I have a question. What was like your earliest memories realizing that your mum was a well-known figure in Iraq, and how did that impact your childhood? Like, so once you realized like who your mum was, like did it impact you in some way? Because I can assume if you was young, like the way I'm seeing it is this, right? Imagine The Rock and his daughter goes to school, finds out who The Rock is, because...
But I think it's different because The Rock is like international. So
but like as a kid, you don't know that.
But I didn't know. Like for instance, I think when I was younger and like children would come up to my mom and they'll hug her.
Yeah.
And then like, I remember one time, I still remember this in Sweden, this girl like came up to my mom and she hugged her. She's like, oh, my mom's very friendly. Like she's hugging her back and oh. And then like she literally, I promise you, she turns around and goes, your mom loves me more than she loves you.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay. Like, of course she doesn't. And like, there'd be kids coming up to me and saying this. And I was like, okay, sure.
But did you understand like what was happening at that point?
I knew like people loved her and stuff. Like I got it, but she's my mom. Like what? Still until this day, I'm like I see people literally going up to her and crying. Like oh, I can't believe I met you. And I'm like, what? We bully you at home.
What about this TV show you're currently doing, or you just finished?
We finished it, yeah.
But it's airing at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's this TV show about?
So my mum and I, we love traveling.
Yeah.
Like, we're very, very close. So
does she live here in Dubai with you?
No, she's with my brother and sister back home.
In Iraq?
And no, in the UK.
Oh, she's in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we love traveling and people love seeing us together. I think it was from TikTok when during COVID, my mum was like, Ma, look, there's this app. You can do exercises at home. And I was like, huh? So she showed it to me on TikTok. And I think she saw an ad where people were watching TikToks and doing some dances.
Oh, yeah.
And she thought like you could download it and watch people do exercise and then you can, and I was like, no, Mom.
Oh, wait, she thought TikTok was an exercise app.
Yes, yeah. And I was like, no, Mom, that's not how it works. So it was during that time that I was supposed to go into the labs. Like I had my PhD, but the labs were closed. And I can never sit still. Like I have to do something. So I was like, okay, well, let's explore TikTok. And like, we're very funny mother and like, we did like mother and daughter sketches.
Okay.
And honestly, it was some of the stupidest things, but people loved them. Like I'd have phone calls from TV channels, be like, can we do an interview with you? Because your TikToks have gone viral and everyone's watching them.
Really?
I think people just bored at home and they're like, haha, this is funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Are those videos still out there?
Sorry?
Are those videos still out there?
Yeah, but I don't. I literally don't. I don't do TikToks anymore. Like it was during that time. And then once we were back to reality, I was like, that's enough. Thank you. I'm never doing that again. So people just like loved that dynamic. And so it was like, okay, well, why don't we have this TV show where I've just finished my PhD. I want to travel and like people just get interested about, you know, going with us, taking people with us, exploring different countries, different cultures. Like there's like 4 different, and in the episode it has 4 different like pillars that we cover, which is like culture, food, activities, and like beauty. So whether it's for hair or skin.
Oh, okay.
So, so she's, the culture wise is like the different dances and stuff, which is what she's like good at. And she's the head of that. Food is me. Like I love food. So it's like my thing. Beauty is also kind of my thing. And like activities was what we do together. And I normally make her do the most uncomfortable activities.
I saw a clip. I think it was, what do they call them? You know that thing where you get on and glide? Paragliding.
Yes.
And like and the guy was like, "Who's first?" She was like, "Yeah, her."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
told her, she was like, "Are we doing a massage up there?" Because she saw them carrying these like big things. Is it like, are you doing a surprise for me? Is it a massage? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Well, let's go up and see what's about to happen. And they basically told her like, we're just training, okay? So we're just gonna run up. We're training. Nobody's gonna do anything. And as she was running, somebody pushes her from behind, and she's like, ah.
No.
The entire time, even when it becomes stable, she's there like screaming, holding on to the guy like this. And then he was taking her arm and like, come on, like get off me now, like we're safe. And she's like screaming still. Yeah, I could hear her screaming from where like the beach is. I'm like this.
No.
And I was like, okay.
How was that experience? I mean, because you know, like when we go on like family holidays, everyone always comes back closer. You know, just a normal family vacation.
Yeah.
But if something like that, what you guys did, like from what I can see and tell from what you've also said to me before, is like you guys are really close anyway.
Yeah.
So how did that TV show, like, what did it bring out in between you guys? Like, is there anything you discovered that you didn't realize as adults now?
I think, as I said to you, like we are very, very close. But what's very interesting is that we've had so many comments being like, oh, I wish I had that with my mom. Like, I wish I had that kind of relationship. I like the relationship. I think it's inspired people to kind of be closer, like with them, for instance, for their mom. Like, they like this dynamic, and I've had people like tell me, oh, I love this. Like, I really wish maybe in the future when they have children, they would want to have this dynamic where it's like more close and like friendship rather than like mother and daughter playing those type of like stereotypical roles.
Do you feel like your mum's your friend, or do you feel like she's your mum? Like, or is there like times where she's a mum and times where she's a friend? Like,
to be honest, we don't really have set roles. Like we're friends, but there's times when she's my mom. There's times when I'm her mom. There's times when I'm her dad. There's times she's my dad. Like, I just feel like just acknowledging our needs. Like, she'll acknowledge what I need and she'll try and step up to the plate. And it's the same with me.
Has your mom influenced your professional life, your personal life in any way?
For sure. Like, I get a lot of opportunities in media that like maybe I wouldn't have if I wasn't in this. But I think just kind of being open-minded. I feel like sometimes, you know, we go after certain opportunities and they just like don't work out. But then certain opportunities are so easily, like they just come to us. And I just realized, you know what, like I'll just embrace those opportunities, and you don't know what can come out of them. And I think the opportunities that I once wanted before, I'm like, yeah, you know what, like that wasn't for me. And now I'm getting opportunities, alhamdulillah, that I couldn't even dream of. When it comes to like my degree, the media stuff. So like it all came together exactly the way I wanted it, because I just accepted, okay, whatever comes to me, I'm going to say alhamdulillah, and I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to keep going.
Was you like that as a child as well? Like, was you, because I can imagine you're just moving. And obviously as a child, you don't really have a say. You do what your mum says, but was you accepting of what you did as a child?
100%. Like you just know, like, I was really excited. Like I was never like, oh yeah, I'm going to boarding school. Oh, like, okay, I'm out of boarding school. Like when I went out of boarding school and I studied in London, my brother and sister were born. So I was like, yay, I have like siblings at home. So like when I finished that and I went to uni, yay, I'm going to uni. Like I'm that type of like, I feel like I'm a positive person where I embrace change. Yeah. And I think what's super beautiful is like, in the Quran, we have like that change. A lot of people tend to like hate change because it makes us uncomfortable. So as people, like when you, for example, get fired from your job or whatever, that instability makes us uncomfortable. But is that like pure trust and iman that whatever is brought to you in any form, whether you see it as good or bad, in that moment, sometimes they can seem like a change is so good, and then it turns out to be the opposite. So just having that full faith and just riding the wave. That was like since I was younger. I always said, Alhamdulillah, like, yeah, it's good. I'm moving here. Yay, I'm going to be happy. And I think it's a mindset. Like I could have been so awful. Like I could have gone to boarding school and suffered because, well, I don't know how to speak English. I can't communicate with anyone. And it's the mindset that like I had. Wherever I went, my mindset was positive, so I got the most of it.
Interesting. I mean, I agree. I think, and I'm learning this quite recently, where it's just kind of like, I think over the last few years, it's kind of just like, if it happens, it's happened. What can I do? Do you know what I mean? And I just have to have trust that it will work out. And if it doesn't work out, it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And you're saying you had that from a young age. But where did that come from? Like, where did that trust come from? Like, did you see that in your mom, your grandpa?
Yeah, my mom a lot. Like my mom trusted everything. She just took, because she was very, very young and we had to move a lot when I was younger. So she just knew, like, it's like she has that really strong faith that, I don't know, it's really inspiring that whatever she's gone through, she just has this incredible faith that is always for her own good. Like even in the worst situations, she's like, Alhamdulillah, it's like this. It could have gone worse, or it could have like this. And it's just like this. I grew up with everything was like, Alhamdulillah. Like when I was in Lebanon, my mom didn't know how to cook and she had to take care of me. We had to eat out of canned food.
Wow.
Like, and now my mom cooks like 5-star, Michelin star dishes for my brother and my sister. And I'm like, I had to eat canned food. But alhamdulillah, it was good. This was what we had to do in that time.
Yeah.
And now it's a different time. But I think in that moment, if she, for instance, took it differently, like, I have to do this and now I'm like this and like, you know, maybe we wouldn't be where we are today. It's just like that gratitude, the more grateful you are, the more that you get.
For sure. Wow. I mean, that's a very good point. I guess if she wasn't that trustworthy and wasn't like confident in the decision she's making, I guess you guys wouldn't be where you guys are now.
I think she was confident in the decisions that were presented to her by Allah. Like in that moment, a lot of the times she was just like riding the wave and accepting that like this is what's meant, because she's too young. Can you imagine 18 years old having to make all these big decisions? She didn't, honestly. Like speaking to her, I've spoken to her and she was like, honestly, like I never made any decision. It was like always like, okay, we're going here, like, okay, go to the UN and okay, apply here. And it was just she was like, I would not know how to do it right now. If you tell me go do it, I would not know. I have no idea how I did it. Like subhanallah.
It just worked out.
It just literally everything just worked out.
What's the name of this TV show again?
M&M خارج التغطية. M&M says Maha and Malayeen. خارج التغطية means outside of the coverage. So we had to go like to the jungle. We had to go to all these places that people normally don't go to.
What was your favorite destination that you went to?
I literally don't have one. I think everything was special in that moment of time.
How many places did you travel to for the show?
We traveled to, I actually don't know, Brazil, Argentina, Maldives. Where else did we go? Japan, Korea, Italy, and Spain. 7 places.
Wow. Okay. So like throughout all of this, throughout the whole journey, like was there not like a moment where like you just thought, I didn't know this about my mom? Like, was there anything you learned? Or did your mom learn anything about you? Like, she didn't know. Like, it could be like how brave you are to just going about and just taking action, not even like shying away from it. Or did you guys just know each other in and out beforehand?
I think we just know each other in and out. It's crazy. Like, we know each other so well that like, I probably know what my mom is thinking. I probably know, like, it's crazy. Like, I don't think and you know, sometimes I tell her, like, you know, when you go out for dinner, and people spend like 3 hours at a dinner talking and like this. Me and my mom, we go for a dinner and we're finished within 30 minutes. We don't even talk. And she's like, Ma, we don't even talk. And I'm like, Mom, what are you going to tell me? What you did this morning? I was there. What you did at lunchtime? I was there. Like, I've been there the whole time. Like, there's no surprise.
So when do you talk then? Like, when do you talk to your mom?
I don't know. I
Is
guess
it when you're away?
Yeah. And even now, and I just sometimes, like, because she calls me quite frequently, but I think she calls me less now than she used to. When I was at uni, she would literally call me, first year at uni, she would call me like 20 times.
A day?
Yeah, no joke. And it was Skype at that time. So she would have to
she knew the
Skype me
video.
every evening to make sure I was at home, like not up to anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, she would call me like this. And if I don't pick up, it'll be like 120,000 missed calls. And then my mom would be crying and like she'll be going to book a ticket to come to the UK so she can see and make sure I'm okay. Yeah, no, it's like this.
What about just listening to you talk, and it just seems like there wasn't, like, everything seems like it was good times.
Yeah,
which is great. I mean, I think that's amazing. But do you think you ever had any childhood trauma, or did you guys just as a family just overcome it so early that you just don't feel like it was trauma?
I feel like, of course, everybody does. Like, there's no parent that's perfect. Everybody is doing the best that they can with what they have. Even when people are, for example, being mistreated, and because, for example, their father was brought up in that environment, that hostile environment where they were mistreated, and they're coming and they're just pretty much doing the same thing. And people just do the best that they can with what they have. Like, nobody is born evil. So I think, of course, I have that, but it's knowing that, like, Allah chose this woman to be my mom, and like, this is a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, like, I have a mom who is present, who is trying her best. She's not like perfect. I'm not a perfect daughter. But that's the thing, you don't have that. I think, of course, you have these childhood traumas, but I later on in my life, I chose not to identify with those. And I chose not to say, well, because it was like this, my mom, like, for instance, she didn't maybe have the best relationships with maybe men, for instance. So I could have grown up, well, I did grow up being like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to talk to men. Like, it was like this. I was in girls' schools my whole life. So I didn't even know how to speak to men. Like, I went to uni. I was like, oh, like, I was literally like, I didn't want to talk to like men. And I had all of this, like, that kind of trauma. But at the same time, like, now, the older I get and the more I get into my deen, I think I'm starting to recognize that humans, every single one of us, are flawed. And when we're disappointed, we get disappointed from our own expectations. The expectations that I'm putting on myself, on others. And when we have that full attachment to Allah, we then know that that's the only perfect thing in our lives, and that people make mistakes and stuff like that. And then it doesn't become as scary. You don't put so much. I think people often get disappointed because of expectations that we set ourselves.
So obviously you grew up with a single mom, right? So as you got older, was you ever curious of other people and their parents, if they were to, like, let's say your friends and they have, you go to their house and you see their mom and dad, like, was you ever curious of yourself, like, what is this? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
not really, because I felt like every house that you would go to would have its own different struggles and those kind of things. I was never really like, oh, but why don't I have this? Like, I had a mom that I was best friends with. Like, a lot of my friends didn't have this relationship with their mom. Like, I remember if I wanted to go somewhere for a dinner, my mom wouldn't let me go out with my friends alone. Like, she was very, very strict growing up. But she would take me to the dinner. She would take me to the most amazing destinations. And that's how we built our relationship. She didn't let me, like, she didn't lock me up in a house and was like, you can't do anything. She's like, oh, you want to do that? Okay, then invite your friends and I'll take you guys.
Yeah.
You want to go to the cinema? Go with your grandpa. And my grandpa would sit in the movies and he'd be like, like this, and I'm like, Grandpa, you're embarrassing me. Wake up.
Well, he wouldn't even sit somewhere else. He would sit right next to you.
He would sit in the middle of us. Like, he'd be like this, and he'll start snoring in the movie theater, and then I'll be like, Mom, he's just snores. Mom, it's so embarrassing. But it's fine. Like, I accepted it, and I'm very, very, very grateful for, like, one time, like, I literally saw some girls from my school, and they were out and they were drunk in the street. And I was just really surprised. And I looked at my mom, and I promise you, like, I think I was 16 at that time. I kissed my mom's hand and I said, thank you so much for bringing me up differently. Because in that moment, I realized it's very difficult for a parent to say, no, don't do this. No, like to take you away from things that might stray you in the wrong direction. And she had to do that. She put her foot down, where sometimes, like, I would feel like, I hate her. She never let me do anything. She's so boring. She never lets me. It's embarrassing that I have to go to the movie theater with my grandpa. But now I'm like, I would do the same with my kids. I'm sitting in the middle, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to snore in movie theaters.
So that's like another thing with that is, right? So like, I always think about this with myself as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my parents are not together, so it's like, I just don't, and I get worried. And this is why I get worried about having kids, is like, my dad was never around. So I don't know what qualities of a father I should have. So when I eventually have kids at some point, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do you know what I mean? I just know what my mum did with us and how she raised us up, which in my head, I'm expecting, like, my wife would be able to be like how my mum was with us. But then what's my role? And I always get worried about this stuff. So do you ever worry that when you are finally in a position where you get married and you have kids, and like you said earlier, like having expectations on your partner or the person next to you, do you get worried about how, like, of the relationship that you would want to have with your kids, and then the reality of keeping a happy family together?
I think it's a process. That's what we really got to understand, that we're never going to be perfect, and we're always going to make mistakes. But inshallah, when you have that, I told you, that attachment, when you have an attachment to Allah and you know that you want to raise your kids in the best way possible, and you are what happens is, when you have kids, you might expect certain things, like we were talking about earlier. You would want them to be doctors, and you want them to be like this, because why? It's more of an ego thing, because their success shows that you're a successful parent. And if they're not, then you get disappointed, and then you get upset, and all of this affects us. But when we have that full attachment to Allah and allowing those kids to do the best that they can with whatever it is, you guide them, of course. You don't let them just like do whatever they want. You guide them. But that way they might pick things which they're better at, and they're going to make much more money at, whether it's money or they're going to be much more fulfilled in life. So the idea of it is, when you're attached to something that isn't human, in my opinion, like, it's, that your children are going to be making mistakes, you're going to be making mistakes. You're not as scared of making those mistakes. You know that, like, okay, I'm going to try the best that I can. And if I make mistakes, then it's okay. But it's a journey and it's a process. And by the way, your kids might have different requirements of you as a father than, for instance, what you required of your dad. And it's just that, it's an understanding. And I think with time, you'll be able to get it and just not have that fear whatsoever, because nobody's born being an amazing mom or dad.
It's true. I agree. I guess it's just like, it's just a thought that I have. I'm just like, like as a child, like, you'd watch like, I don't know, Disney Channel, and like, the dad is always the fun one, and the mum is always the strict one. And like, that's like how my growing up was. My mum was strict, like your mum. She was super strict. Because my dad wasn't around, I always assumed like my dad would have been the fun one. Yeah. And then and these TV shows leave you thinking, oh, do I have to be the fun one? And like, I put myself in this like wormhole, and I'm just like, I start questioning, who am I? Like, what am I going to be? Like, what situation am I going to be in?
But are you like, this is so interesting, because the other day I was with one of my friends, and my friend goes like, we were with a group of people that like, they've never met me before. And they said, she said, Maha is the funniest girl ever. Oh my goodness, she's so funny. You're going to be laughing so much. And at that time, I promise you, I was so tired. Like I could not be bothered. And I was like, oh no, I know I have to be funny. Oh no. So I wasn't so funny. And my friend was kind of disappointed that I wasn't so funny. I was just tired. And I think it's that label that you give, like you don't have to be the funny dad or whatever. In that moment, you might be fun, but in another moment, you're not fun. And it's those labels that we have to like let go of. We have to let go of these stereotypical things that sometimes you're going to have to be the strict one because the mom like might not want, there's certain things that like the mom, it's not her position to tell the child this, that, the other, if it's a son or whatever and then sometimes the mom has to be the fun one when it comes to certain situations. So it's letting go of labels and allowing yourself to be just you as a person. One day you're going to be fun. One day you're not going to be fun. One day you're going to be, you know what I mean?
But then that's what I mean. Like then it's questioning like, who am I?
Do you have to be something? Like, can't you just be you? Isn't that good enough?
No, I mean, it is, right? I mean, of course it's good enough, right?
Are we just two-dimensional? Like, we're three-dimensional. Sometimes we'll be this person, we'll be that, but we don't have to label it.
But like, do you not ever like sit in your bed at night and think to yourself who am I? Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, who, like, that question is so broad, but it's just, what I mean is like who am I? I'm so hard to explain. Like in my mind, I have
to know who you are. That's the thing. You today is going to be different from you tomorrow, and you today is different from yesterday. And I think you're only going to really get stuck trying to figure out who you are when actually like you can't answer that. Like who you are is completely different minute to minute. Like you cannot. And I think once you start labeling yourself, that's the biggest downfall.
What about the question of who I want to be? Who do I want to be?
That's of course, like, who do you want to be in the sense that, like, if you're setting good intentions, like, who do I want to be? Like, do I want to be a person that, like, helps people in need? Do I want to be this? Yes, of course, because that's working towards self-improvements, and that's not labeling you or chaining you to be a certain person, whether you have to be the fun one or this. No, it's who you want to be in the sense, like, if you want to be helpful to people, if you want to set up a foundation, if you want to, etc., to improve yourself, that's more freeing. But you labeling yourself, you're chaining yourself to these identities. And then if you're not that fun person one day because you're in a bad mood or you don't know what happens, then you're only going to be disappointed because you're like, but I am the fun one. I'm the funny one. What's happening? Why am I not funny today?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely make sense, and I do agree to what you're saying. Like, it is these labels. I think for me, it's just kind of like one of those things where, like, I always saw around me, like a lot of my friends didn't have their parents with them, right? And I spent a lot of my childhood lying about my parents not being together. I used to pretend my dad was with us, and like I used to even go as far as like back in the days when Blackberries was a thing. Like I went and bought, like, figured out how to make this money and like gather enough money to go buy a Blackberry. Bought a Blackberry, and then I would be like, yeah, my dad bought it for me, you know. And I had this for so long throughout my whole of like the secondary school or high school, and it was like it was such a thing where like I just didn't want no one to think that, you know, I come from a broken family, because like I see all of my friends and a lot of them don't have their dads with them, and they're all just so angry, and I was just like creating an identity as a child of this kid who comes from such a full house of a family, mom and dad are around, everybody's happy, to the point where like I feel like in my adult years, because I neglected my true feelings so much, that in my head I imagined what this dad of mine was like, that it almost becomes of the kind of dad that I think that I would be. But then I'm like, then as you grow older, reality hits you and you're just like, that's just your imagination. But what is a real dad? Like, what do they do? Like, what, like some one friends of mine telling me his dad taught him how to shave. Another friend telling me like his dad taught him how to wear cologne. And I'm like, raw, like, so like, what is, do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I know. And especially as a boy, you want to have that like male figure that you can identify with. I think for me, because I'm a girl, so I had the female, and I just didn't feel like I was lacking from like that male perspective. But I think for a boy, it's a different type of, and I feel like I have, for instance, friends who they're like single moms, and I see their son, as soon as they see like a male figure, he'll run and he'll hug him, and like he's very, you know, and it's kind of a bit heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's like, your mom like is doing the best that she could, and then your dad as well. You don't know what goes on, and like لم تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم, maybe being around in your life would have had a bigger negative impact in your life. So you never know. Like, just be like, okay, well, this happened. Don't identify that this is, and try to do better for your kids, but also be okay with making mistakes, because nobody's perfect. And I think once you take away that big responsibility, things become easier. I
think also, like, like even just that whole situation, like you're saying, like my mom did an amazing job. I think because I spent so long creating this character of who my dad was and had to act like that was who my dad was, that I feel like maybe when I was growing up, I neglected my mom. So when I see, like, obviously I don't understand the TV show, like the Arabic to watch this TV show, but like the clips that I watched to prep for this interview, this podcast, it was like I was like, I can see similarities between my mom as well. Like my mom's very similar in the way your mom is. Like just her characteristic, her like the way, like excitement. You know, your mom has that. I saw she has this kind of excitement that I just see my mom have.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, and just thinking about it now, I just feel a bit guilty now. I'm just like, damn, like why? Like I should have just, you know, put my mum on the pedestal. So what? Like my mum's the one that's raising us. Like why did I take that away from her? And but it's interesting to see like how, like you're saying.
But at the end of the day, like people are people. So it's not like
and we can't
you shouldn't
change
put anyone on a pedestal. Like your love this is what your love is. And I think even if you, for instance, were put her on a pedestal and something were to happen, you'd be like, but you know, you're putting a lot more expectations on your mom to be like, I sacrificed this and I did this and I didn't go out with my guys because I spent time with you. And it's that resentment. It builds a resentment. So I think it's good that you have this like healthy relationship and you do whatever you feel. Of course, but you have to, you know.
What does that mean?
So it means like Allah said that you should be respectful of your family when they need help and all of those things. That it's important that you are there for your mom. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I love my mom to bits. And sometimes it is, I feel like, oh my goodness, she's asking me to do this again. And I will complain. I'll be like, oh my, like I have enough going on. And then I come to my senses and I'm like, alhamdulillah, that she's coming to me. Because you never know, like, may Allah give them more. May Allah keep them alive and keep them healthy. But you never know when that day might come when they don't ask you anymore.
Yeah, I think about that quite a lot. Like even like I said this in the previous. I think I said it in the last 2 episodes, but I'll say it again anyway because it's such an interesting concept. But it's like, you know, for like the idea that our parents have an X amount of years to live. Let's just say for whatever reason, let's just say it's like 60 years left to live, right? Inshallah, more healthy, more. But let's say they have 60 years to live, and the average amount of times, like a normal person, I go back quite a bit, but like let's say on a normal person, average time I go back to London once a year. It just means like I'm going to see my mum like 60 times before I lose her. Do you know what I mean? Or she loses me. And that just made me think, like imagine, like we can't control when our time's up. So that 60 years could become 5, 10. And that's only how many times I'm going to see my mum. So like it makes me think now, I'm just like, and like you're saying as well, like how you've been saying across this whole podcast is like expectation, you know, like, and I think that might be the biggest issue that I'm just seeing now is that I have so many expectations from when I was young. So I'm just kind of like learning to understand, like, why do I even have these expectations? Like, what's even need for these expectations? All I'm doing is just setting myself up for failure.
I think it's interesting because we're all doing the best that we can with our jobs and we're setting up. So I don't think we should be there counting. Well, for instance, if you're in the same country and you're not seeing your family and you're neglecting them, that's when it's wrong. But you're in a different country.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, if you were there, you'd be more available for them. So don't have that expectation for yourself. Like, I need to do this. Like, I think just dropping that expectation, not just for others, but for yourself. I think that's where just allow yourself to be just you and do the best that you can. Like, I'm 100% sure that like, if your mom tells you, I need your help in X, Y, Z, you would jump on a plane and be there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so why punish yourself and make yourself feel bad where you're here, you can't focus, you can't, fully commit to your work or whatever, because you're too occupied thinking, well, how much time do I still have with my mom? Like, this is, Allah's, we never know. 60 could be tomorrow, later. But we cannot think this way. We have to say that this is Allah's journey, like this is their journey. This is, and inshallah, we can only do the best that we can.
I think what's happened is because I'm very early on my journey of transformation, of like just learning about myself and learning how to let go of things. I think I'm having to address things before I let them go. And I think that's what's causing a lot of questions and putting myself in a space where like I don't need to be. But then I also need to be in that space to then let go of what I'm holding on to. But this isn't an interview of me. You're not my therapist. I feel like I'm like switched the role. But halfway through the show, we play this game. It's called Inner Child.
Okay.
And what I do is I'll give you a word, and you tell me the first thing that pops into your mind related to that word. The first thing. And then I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's start with the first word. Yeah.
Okay.
Role model.
My mom.
Yeah, I knew that one. But my question is, who was your role model outside of your family when you were a child? And what impact did they have on your early years? Could be a teacher, could be...
my grandpa.
That's outside your family.
Oh, outside? I actually don't remember. I don't think I ever had...
Really?
Yeah, I never really... So that's one thing I said earlier, that like I never really understood like how people like can glorify like people,
Yeah.
Like, wow, this person is like, So I'm just like, I never really, and I even with my mom, like to me, I told you she's just a normal woman.
Yeah.
And I just think like that's one thing I just never really had like a role model to. I always knew from our faith that we should be people who help others, and maybe my faith was my,
Your
like
role model. Yeah. Do you also think maybe because your mom was in the scene of celebrity or popularity, that your idea of the standard of a person has kind of been removed? Because because your mom's already in that life, you was young, you're growing up in it, it just seems so normal to you. So you might have not seen other people as role models. Yeah,
I think because what happens is people only see like certain aspects of people's lives. So you can look at someone and go, wow, they are perfect. They have the perfect marriage. They have because they've showed you this side and whatever. Like it can be the person who does all charity and whatever, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know, like people only show you what they want to show you. And I think I never really looked for someone to, maybe like to be like or whatever. I just allowed myself to be like myself, like, and just accept that.
Interesting.
That's how I am, and take it like day by day.
I think that's the best approach, day by day. Even I'm learning to just do things today and worry about today, and then tomorrow worry about tomorrow. My next word, identity.
Identity?
Yeah. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I don't know. Kindness?
If that's the first thing, that's the first thing. My follow-up question. growing up with who your mum is,
Yeah.
how did you forge your own identity separate from your mum's, fame or public attention?
I think because I was far away from my mum in the sense that like I grew up the years where I started becoming who I really wanted to be and stuff. I was in boarding schools, like those early teen years. So I don't know. Maybe that's why, like, I was far away from it all. So I didn't, and my mom just didn't want me she didn't want me to like go down that like fame road. She wanted me to get a degree and to focus on my studies because it's not very stable. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't really have like a degree to lean on and stuff. So she always wanted me to do my own thing, which was far away from this. And I still like, even now when I'm doing this like media stuff, like we have very different personalities. So it's still like,
yeah, you're kind of in your own lane at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. My next word, media.
Social. Am I so bad at this game?
No, you know what? It's funny because there's no right and wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just interesting to see where your mind takes you when you hear these words.
Yeah. Just
like for me,
logic more for me.
Yeah. But as in like you're saying social, but if you ask me what the first word for media would come to me, I would have said cameras.
Yeah.
So like it's just where our minds are.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see like where you're thinking, because sometimes I could be talking about something, you're thinking about something totally different.
Yeah.
But the follow-up question, what was your perspective on the media as a child?
I think it's different. We didn't have what we had like now in the media. We had news on TV.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, in the UK, we had channels 1 to 5. I don't know if you had it.
TV.
Man. Yeah.
TV. Like that's what we had. We had like media was TV. I don't remember anything else. Like we were very, in order to get news, it would take a while for us to hear. Like now it's like 2 minutes later, this thing got like 30 seconds ago, this place was bombed. Like we get instant. It's instant.
Yeah. But like as a, off topic though, but like, as a child, what did you do for entertainment?
Sports.
Oh, really?
I did a lot of sports. When I was at school, I was in 6 different sports.
What?
I was captain of the lacrosse team. I played goalie for hockey. I played rounders, tennis, swimming. Like I did everything.
Really?
I was doing 200 meters for our athletics team. What else? Netball.
How are you like now? Do you still do a lot of sports?
Yes and no. Like I'm quite competitive. I do paddle, for instance, but it's more like fun. I hate gym and those sort of things. Like it's just like where am I running to? Like why am I running? And you know what I mean? Like it's just like what? And like so it's like what? I'm just standing in one spot running. Like I literally hate it. And I try to like make it nice. I was like, this is I hate it. Like
this is where your imagination is really going to come in handy.
Yeah.
Okay, next word. Your best friend.
My mom.
She's taking up 2 of these answers.
My sister, I'll say. My sister.
Yeah.
Can I change my answer?
Yeah, you can change your answer. But my follow-up question is, what made this friendship special to your younger self?
I think it's just because like it felt like we were against the world together. Like we were in this together.
You and your mum or you and your sister?
Me and my mum.
Okay.
Like me and my mum were against the world together. Me and my sister is like, she's kind of like, I'm a second mum to her.
I was about to just ask that. Like, did you take on your
more
mum's
strict
role?
than my mom. Like, honestly,
Really?
I'm like, I suffered when I was younger. You're all suffering. Like, we're all, nobody's getting
No
out.
TikTok.
Nobody's having an easy childhood. I'm giving you guys trauma now.
I think that's what happens, Like my mum would do the same. Like she'll make me be the one to tell them off, and she would always say to me like I'm just teaching you to be, like a man, But in my head, I was just thinking like, how can you? I don't know, what is that?
No, my mum is like, I'm too tired for this.
Oh,
And
really?
Maha, like, tell her off, tell him off. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like
I'd be happy to.
How do they see you? Do they see you as a strict sister, or do they
So strict.
Do they come to their problems as well?
So strict. Like they don't get away with
Skyping
anything.
them?
They don't get away with anything. Like I have surveillance on everything that they do, all the internet stuff, their WhatsApp. They know this. They're like social media accounts. I have access to it all.
Wow.
And like I put like limits on their phones. They're 16, but they still follow that. And my brother is not allowed to play PlayStation, only on weekends, because it's like, it's for their own good. Like I had this, when they were in boarding school, it was the same rules. They got out, but they also went to boarding school, and then they got out, and I was like, you just need to have that focus, because unfortunately there's so many distractions now.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. Like all these horrific things online is so scary. I feel it's so scary for kids.
And you don't know what they're looking at, and anything can come up at any time.
Not even just this. It's all these like crazy websites where young girls, you know, like may Allah protect our children, and like where young girls or guys, whatever, they're uploading like content on there, and people pay like to watch this sort of thing. And like, I just don't want to get into details, like actually gives me the creeps, but like girls are doing it so that they can earn some money, or it's ridiculous. Like,
it's crazy that, you know, the landscape has totally changed, where everything is on the internet. Like making money on the internet is just so accessible now, and almost at anything, like a picture can sell. You know, back in the day it was artwork and stuff. Now it's like a picture of anything almost can sell. And I think a lot of and also like I've noticed like with like even my cousins, right? Like the way to shut them up is just give it, like their parents just give them an iPad and just sit there, and they get so used to it.
It's the easy way.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think that's and as they're growing up, they're just so indulged in this thing where like even if their dad would say no, they will start crying and quiet them up. And they know this. They know if I cry, I'm going to get it. So I'm just going to cry until I get it.
Yeah, but it's you shouldn't. It's also wrong where you're like, I'm never letting my kids do this, because what happens is like when they go to school, a lot of the work is on the iPad now. And so it's like you cannot shelter them fully from it. You just have to surveillance. Like you just have to keep track on what they're doing. But then also like not give them, like honestly, I have a technique for parents out there. When your child starts crying, like cry the same way. Like I literally have my friend's kids, like her daughter started being like, because we didn't get her the iPad. Like, and I was like, like screaming, and then she was like, why is this woman doing this? Like, and then she stopped, because I was like, what, you think I'm scared of you? I'll do that, and I'll do it louder. Try me.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that. Back in that days when we used to cry, we used to get beaten up. He's literally
gonna be like, like, why is this weirdo crying? It's like, you're going to threaten me with tears, and it's fake tears. There'll be like one coming down like this.
But they mastered it. You know what I mean? These kids have mastered it. And like, as I was saying, like, it's just like, and it starts off with the iPad, starts off with YouTube. Then they suddenly find other ways to get onto the internet. And then you just don't know. Like,
the thing is, you cannot fully control. Like, even when you're putting, like parental control and some of it's now that they're making content for kids that's like like I remember back in the days, very questionable. Like I don't want my future children to watch this cartoons. They're not.
A friend of mine made this interesting comment about American TV shows, especially on children's shows like Disney Channel and things like that. Even as far as like kids TV shows like Peppa Pig and stuff, they always make the dad look like an idiot. Have you noticed that? And it's like and my friend was just saying, like, it's like they make the dads, like every single dad is always dumb, funny, and like just an idiot in general. He makes so many mistakes and stuff, and the mother's always like strict and very serious. And he was just saying like they just training the men to lose their authority almost a little bit, to the point where like when we act up or get angry or we are standing strong in what we believe, our kids are not taking us serious. And I was just like, that's quite interesting, because I didn't realize like a lot of TV shows have that. But then when you have TV shows with colored parents, it's the roles that we would see. You know, like how, like, you know, like my mom's strict anyway, but like a dad would also be strict and so on. So it was just an interesting thing that I like when he said.
But I
was
think
like,
a lot of the TV shows, you have to be careful as well, because they are some sort of propaganda to make us think certain things, and they do it specifically for kids so that they lose their identity, or like you said, like
probably that's what happened to me.
yeah, no, but like not. I don't think so. I think look, like now it's even like worse. I think it's like what you said, like, oh, you watch this and they get influenced with what they watch. And I think if they're watching constantly like roles where it's like
music, for example. Music is really influencing a lot of kids now.
yeah, I mean, music influences not just kids, they influence adults, and they influence I mean, the amount of things that we say, because for example, we'll listen to music and it'll be like in your head that you're constantly, for instance, reaffirming some sort of things, whether it's like if it's a love song that's about pain and whatever, and you're constantly saying it, like your brain is so powerful, like you're going to attract these kind of things. So music is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And they use it a lot in propaganda as well to kind of brainwash us. And I know everyone's like, that's such a conspiracy theory. And I'm like, okay, sure.
I mean, like in the UK right now, like drill music is so prominently listened to in the UK. Prominently, is that the right word? Did I use it right? Predominantly,
yeah.
That's the word. What did I say? Prominently, predominantly. It's so popular right now in the UK that kids are just like listening to these music. And you know what drill music is, right?
No.
Drill music is like very aggressive. I'm gonna murder you and that kind of music, right?
Yeah.
And kids in the UK listen to it. Like even my siblings listen to it. Even I listen to it sometimes. But it's so catchy that it's like you can't get away from it sometimes. But a lot of kids are like getting inspired by this music and feeling what they're feeling in the music, and then they start to be so inspired that they want to live that lifestyle.
Yeah, stabbing and whatever. And I think it's cool. And it's like in our generation, it was all about like taking weed and doing drugs and going to clubs, and then everyone's like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this. And to be honest with you, when they tell you like, oh no, it's like you don't have to actually, but there's actual music that's drugs. Like it's, I don't know what it's called. It's
like psychedelics.
Yeah. So you listen to it and you
trance.
actually, your whole body goes into like
a trance.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you tell me that this doesn't have an effect on you? Of course it does. Music has the biggest effect on us, and especially because we think it's so harmless. Let's put it on loop and let's just listen to, and it's all about like feminine empowerment, like energy. That as soon as if for instance, like and it kind of contradicts Islam in so many different ways, that like that's why a lot of women or men, like they get divorced or whatever, because it's like, you're not being like, she's like, you're not being this romantic, or you're not respecting me, and I want to do this, and it's all about me.
Yeah.
When actually we live in a community and a society, and it's very different from that. Like the new ideas that everything is about you and like how you feel, and it's important that it's only you that matters, and you have to set your boundaries for your feelings. But it's like we live in a society. This is not all about me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a community,
and it's such a huge shift as well. I feel like since I think it started before COVID, but I think since after COVID has kind of like died down, it's suddenly just become this whole like, the hustle culture, the empowerment culture, the female boss, the CEO culture. Like everyone's a CEO now,
because everyone wants to identify with something. That's the issue. It's like everyone wants, like you said, who am I? Everyone's so obsessed with this question: who am I? What do I like? Who am I? I have to be this. They're very uncomfortable with stripping away all the titles and just being them. Like when people are like, Dr. Maha Karim, I'm like, yes, okay, I have a PhD and whatever, but like that's not my identity. Like I worked hard for it, yes, but at the same time, it's
what is your identity? What would you say your identity is?
I don't identify. Like I feel like for the past couple of like months, whatever, I don't identify as anything. I just allow myself to be.
Maha.
Like Maha, like days I'm happy, days I'm not, days, you know, and just not to identify my as like I'm an angry person. Oh, I'm a Leo. That's why I'm angry. You know, I'm a Sagittarius. Oh my goodness, I knew you were a Gemini.
Do you know those horoscopes? Yeah, let me tell you a funny story. Yeah, horoscopes is the most bogus thing I believe. Yeah, because I used to work for Wireless Festival in the UK.
Yeah,
and on Wireless Festival they used to do horoscopes, right?
Yeah.
So I was the one behind the screen writing these horoscopes, and I was just making things up. And I was just like, yeah, so like today you're gonna have a good day. Good luck is coming your way. And after doing that, and then you'll see like everyone screenshotting it and putting it up on their stories and stuff. And I just feel like, wow, like so basically someone just sitting there writing this stuff.
Yeah.
And then someone will try to tell me, no, there's science behind it. And I was like,
yeah.
what?
Honestly, but let me tell you something. I used to identify a lot as a Leo. That was like my thing. It was like my identity. Like, oh my goodness, I'm such a Leo. Like, but it's like once I got into Deen. And like, honestly, like knowing that Allah created everything, He created the stars, they're not going to determine our future.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's once we identify it, it's like that identity that limits us. Oh, you know why I am like this? Like I'm sensitive. It's because I'm a Pisces.
But if you read all the others.
Yeah, like everything that you do, it's like if you do something bad, it's because Mercury was in the microwave.
In the microwave.
Mercury was in the retrograde. And then Mercury's like, can you just face your problems without blaming me?
But you know, like even if you like read all the other horoscopes, they all relate to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you know what I mean? They're all relatable.
Yeah, but you pretend they don't.
I know,
you're like, no, I'm a Leo.
Aquarius.
Come on. How dare you?
Okay. We have one more word to finish up the game.
Okay.
Mercury in a microwave. I love that one. I'm gonna clip that one. Teenager.
Sports.
Okay. Reflecting back on your teenage years, what was a significant challenge you faced that has shaped who you are today?
So crazy. I don't remember. I think just challenge. It's so weird. I just honestly like remember, like I told you, like my childhood being like, yay, this is amazing. I feel like maybe it's like, you know, the idea that like I wasn't allowed to go out a lot. I was always having to go with like my grandpa, and I just never, and especially because we didn't live in a Muslim country. So literally all my friends would be like, you know, you can like call the police and tell them this is child abuse. You know the amount of like, this is child abuse. Like you shouldn't be under a curfew. Like you're 16 years old. Like why are they controlling your life?
Even though legally you're an adult and 18.
Yeah, like even when I was 18, I'm like, you are aware that if I'm 45, no. You know, if I'm 90, my mom's still alive, inshallah ya Rab, she's still going to control my life and I cannot say no. Like there's no such thing as age with Arab parents.
Same in my culture.
There's no age. Like I'm still going to be your mom.
Yeah.
Like this is not.
Tell you what to do.
Exactly. Like what do you mean you're adult now? Mashallah. Hello.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing with our culture is that our parents never lose the parent identity. Like, you know, like you always hear stories in the UK, especially like some people ship their parents off to a care home and then let them, you know, rot away and stuff. Whereas for us, it's like, I could never imagine me doing that to my parents. Like if none of my siblings can look after them, then I'm going to look after them. Do you know what I mean? And it's just the way I see things in our culture. I feel
like I fight. Like I'm just like, no, my mom's going to live with me. No, like this. I had like when I was at university and I was doing my master's, I hate living alone. Like I always loved living with my family. And my mom was like, your grandpa's not feeling too well. Like, you know, like, and I was like, Mom, I have 2 bedrooms in my apartment. Send him. She was like, no, but like, you're going to be so busy at uni. And I was like, I live right next to the hospital, so I can take him. Like, it doesn't matter. And then when I went and did my PhD, he like moved in with me and as well, like I was taking care of him. And I worked at my PhD was like where I did it was very close to the hospital, so I'd have to, and I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to like look after him. And I feel like till his last day, he lived with me. Really? And I feel like I am so incredible. Alhamdulillah, like I got that opportunity where I was able to look after him, and he got to spend his, last couple of years with me, and we used to play domino, and like just having those memories with him. I am so happy he came and stayed with me. Like it's something that no one can take that away from you.
Before I end the show, I want to ask about your grandfather quickly. Do you feel like he played some sort of father figure in your life then?
For sure, yeah. He, when I was living in Lebanon, my mom had to travel. Like he looked after me a lot, and like he for sure was a father figure to me. Even when I was in Sweden, he stepped up, and he was such an incredible man. Like he had such strong faith, and it's incredible. Like he was such an incredible man. Who was so selfless, because at that, like he wasn't that old either. He could have gone like, I want to get married. Like I don't have to follow my daughter around everywhere she goes and like look after her child. He literally gave up his life to look after me. So, he was like my best friend growing up. He used to play dominoes, and like near the end where he was in Haram, he wasn't comprehending, and he would always beat me in domino when he was young and like capable. So when he was older and he was just like not seeing the numbers properly, I could cheat all I want. I was like, no, grandpa, you don't have any of the things. Keep drawing. My mom would come and be like, Wallah haram. This is not allowed, Maha. This is haram. You're cheating on a man who can't see. And I was like, Mom, it's fine. I can finally win. Okay.
It's my choice now.
We were literally best friends. Like he was so close to the point where when he was passing away, he forgot everyone. My mom came in and he was like, Maha? And I was like, that's not Maha, it's me. And like the moment like he passed away, like he was hugging me so tight.
Wow.
And like really when they say like your grandfather, they love their children's children more than the children. I really felt that.
Wow. I mean, like I'm just imagining what life was like. It's just like you, your mom, and your granddad just hopping country to country together, and just like it must have been so nice. Like just looking back at it must be really nice. Like at the time, I'm sure it must have been difficult for both of your grandpa and your mom. But looking back at those stories, it must have been a beautiful adventure. And the fact that now you and your mom get to do an adventure on TV show, it's like the story of what it was like when you're growing up.
Alhamdulillah.
But when I end the show, I do this one little exercise.
Okay.
It is, right? So you just got to lean back, relax a little bit, right? Close your eyes. Imagine your bedroom door, right? As a child, what did that door look like? Just imagine it. Yeah. Go inside that door and see your child self sitting there. What would you say to your child self?
You got this, girl. Yeah, like everything's going to work out.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's interesting. Like a lot of people have given that answer. Like you got this, as if like that child is worried. But then speaking to you now, it didn't seem like you was worried as a child. So why would you have to remind her that she's got this?
I just think every child is worried. Like you look at a child, like as soon as, like for instance, if you leave a child, like for me, I was left a lot for instance, with my grandpa, and then I went to boarding school. Like, of course it was difficult, but like, I just decided that I should just make the most of it. Of course it was scary, like sleeping in a foreign place for the first time in boarding school where I couldn't speak any, like the language. I didn't know anyone. Like, of course I was scared. Like, who wouldn't be? But it was like, you know what? Like, I'm also excited. And I chose to look at that excitement. And I chose to, many times it's like I chose, because my mom always looked at the positive side of things. So I also, you have the yin and yang in you. Like everything is like, this bottle is like half full or half empty is how you choose to look at it. And it's true for both. Like you can give both answers it's both true. But I think it's just, it's allowing yourself to go, okay, I do have those negative thoughts, but what's the positive here?
Well, Maha, I just want to say thank you for being a guest and opening my mind up to the perspective of a positive outlook and not having to question things too much.
Yeah.
And just live.
Allow it
Yeah.
to be.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can they find you?
Where? Why do you want to find me?
Where can they follow you on socials? Where can they see your show?
Yeah.
Like, what would you like to?
So, yeah, my social media is Maha Karim 92, I think. And but I kind of am more shy. Like on social media, actually, I don't post a lot. Like I'm not as outspoken. That's why people love the show, because they're like, oh, you're a completely different personality. Like you're not stuck up. But I don't like social media. Like if I want to go out, I don't want to post about it. I'm more private. So you can follow me if you want, but I'm probably very boring. So you don't have to.
What about your what about the TV show?
TV show, it's in Arabic. They don't have subtitles yet, but inshallah, that should be a next move. But it's on an app called 1001.tv, which you can download, or it's on a TV channel, Iraqi, it's called Al Sharqiyya. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Thank you for being a guest, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Inshallah. Have a good day.